how to get over an ex. I've been there and I know it's hard, but getting over an ex is something that you can and should do. I don't have many regrets, but in retrospect, one of the biggest of my life is spending too much time that I will never get back in a state of heartbreak and hopeless yearning. There is nothing good that comes of it. So I'm here to help you move through this painful period as quickly as possible with actionable strategies that work. Let's get to it. In the first place, you have to understand that there are really only two effective strategies here. And this is true of all kinds of emotional change. One is much more intense than the other, but they both ultimately arrive at the same outcome. The first strategy is exposure. Exposure works by presenting the stimulus so many times that it loses its emotional salience and becomes neutral. Think about saying a word over and 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 over again. Eventually, it kind of loses its meaning and becomes just a sound, right? So what does this mean with respect to getting over an ex? Well, let's say that you're unadvisedly stalking this person on social media after the breakup, and you come across a post of some new guy. Who is this guy? With his arm around her. Now, if you're still in the early stages of your recovery, this is going to feel like a knife through the heart and will likely trigger all kinds of feelings like panic and desperation. You know, the kind of emotions that fuel the get your ex back industry. However, on some level, this is because you just saw one picture after a period of separation. If you were to implement an exposure protocol, this would mean looking at this picture and pictures like it many times, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And if you do that in a short enough time frame, this is called flooding. Behavioral therapists use this technique in overcoming phobias. Got an irrational fear of pickles? The therapy is actually to sit in a whole bathtub full of them. You'll yell and scream and cry and melt into a puddle of fear and disgust until you kind of exhaust yourself and discover you're okay. You're gonna live. And exhausted of your usual emotional responses, you'll be able to see that pickles really aren't that bad. The technique is actually extremely effective, but as you might imagine, it's also extremely uncomfortable. In fact, a lot of the therapy here consists in supporting the patient up to the point of flooding, but the actual flooding itself can be over in like half an hour. It's very intense, and it's not going to be for everyone. In fact, I generally recommend the second strategy, but it does work. And you'll know it worked with respect to getting over an ex when you can look at a picture of her with her new boyfriend and feel nothing. Not because you're holding it together, but because it literally does not evoke an emotional response anymore. All right, let's move on to the second option, the one I personally recommend in most cases, extinction. As before, the point of extinction is to arrive at emotional neutrality in the face of the stimulus. However, with extinction, this is accomplished by completely eliminating any form of engagement with the person in question. This is referred to online as no contact, and it means like it sounds. You have no contact with this person. You don't call, you don't text, you don't write them letters, you don't hang around their usual haunts in the hope that you'll bump into them, etc., etc. However, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. As I discussed in my episode, What is True No Contact, the most important contact that must be eliminated in an extinction protocol is contact with the cognitive version of that person. This means that you don't stalk them on social media. You don't look over the old pictures of the two of you together. But even more, you don't replay the memories of your time together or fantasize about what she might be doing now. These cognitive extinctions are, in many respects, even more important than their behavioral equivalents. Like, you could stop chasing an ex, but still think about her every day for years. and this is going to significantly extend your recovery time. The idea here is to completely remove any kind of exposure to the stimulus so that the paired emotions will eventually die out. Keep in mind, though, that completely is not optional here. Do no contact for a while, but then relapse into exposure, and you'll not only set yourself back, but you'll begin to establish an intermittent reinforcement schedule, which is basically a process addiction. That's no bueno. So if you're going to do extinction, you have to go all the way with it, okay? Introducing my innovative first novel, Starry Night. Step into the world of painter Vincent van Gogh. Genius, sinner, prophet, madman. Relive the final 10 weeks of his life in this breathtaking tale of art, love, loss, and meaning, and challenge what you think you know about life and relationships. Once you see through Vincent's eyes, the world will never look the same again. Starry Night, now available in ebook, audiobook, and paperback formats. The links are in the description. Of course, the process of extinction is very difficult. Why? Because the prohibition to not think about something contains the very something that you're trying not to think about. It's like, don't think about pink elephants, right? When you try not to think about somebody, your mind will very helpfully present that someone to you. So extinction must be accompanied by another strategy in order to be successful, namely, block and replace. I've talked about block and replace more extensively elsewhere. I love it. It's one of my favorite CBT interventions. However, with respect to getting over an X, this means A, firmly resisting the cognition. It's like, nope, we're not thinking about her anymore. We're moving on. And B, replacing this thought with something else. Okay, Orion, so what do you replace it with? Well, if you tend to romanticize the past relationship or idealize the person once she's gone, what I would strongly encourage you to do is to sit down and write, like literally write with pen and paper, a list of all the less than flattering things about this person. Write down all her flaws, all her faults, all her shortcomings, and then provide examples. List all the times she was inconsistent or flaky or contemptuous or selfish or manipulative or withholding or disgusting or difficult, etc. And trust me, no matter who you're dealing with, there's going to be things you can put on this list. I guarantee she's not a perfect angel whose feet don't touch the ground. In any case, you're going to spend some time creating this list, and when you're done, you're going to take a picture of it. And you're going to put that piece of paper in your wallet, and you're going to carry that picture around in your phone. And these resources will be your thought replacements. This means that whenever the idealized or romanticized memory or fantasy of this person pops into your mind, you're going to block it. Nope, not going to go there. And you're going to whip out your list and force yourself to call to mind the items and experiences listed there. Now, it's going to feel icky, forcing yourself to focus on the unlovable parts of this person, but it's going to be necessary for a time. Why? Because you've actually been harboring a very one-sided idea of this individual, the one that got away, my one true love, etc., etc. And this one-sided idea is not aligned with reality. Focusing on these negative experiences and unflattering characteristics is really a way to balance the scales. And you won't have to do it forever, because eventually you'll overcome the splitting by integrating the ideal with the shadow. In any case, after meditating for a few minutes on this list, your emotions should start to shift. Oh yeah, yeah, I remember why we broke up now. Maybe it's not the worst thing that this person is out of my life. And trust me, no matter how hot she was or how good she looked on paper, it's a good thing that she's out of your life. I'll repeat it. It's a good thing that she's out of your life. Why can I say that with so much confidence? Because she didn't want to stay with you, my dude. And that means no matter how perfect you objectively believe she wasn't perfect for you, friendo. And that's really all that matters. You may not believe me now, but you will. So that's how you get over an ex. Regardless of whether you use exposure or extinction, you'll know you've succeeded in both cases when you can see evidence of your ex moving on with her life without experiencing an emotional reaction. At the very least, you'll feel nothing. And at most, you'll feel happy for her because ultimately, happiness is not a zero-sum game. As I've mentioned previously, love is actually the best, if not the only way to truly let go of someone. This is because all other emotions bind you to the lost object. But you might not be there yet. I get it, and that's okay. You'll get there. And when you do, you'll look back and realize that the end of that relationship was very likely a blessing in disguise. Recapture your dignity and don't throw your money away on Get Your Ex Back programs and coaches, okay? Do that for me. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please, send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its content. I know you know someone who's hurting right now. Send this to this person because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. Other value adds, anyone looking to join my free weekly newsletter, for which I write original content, or book a paid one-on-one consultation with yours truly, can find out more on my website. There are also my books, The Value of Others, in which I explore my economic model of relationships, and Starry Night, my novella about the final days of Vincent van Gogh. And there's also my private member community, the Captain's Quarters. This place is great. If you want a supportive community to help you to get over an ex or to help you to realize your potential, to become the best version of yourself, this is the place for you. The links to everything are in the description below. Check them out. It's really helpful. As always, I appreciate your support and thank you for listening.